r/askreddit. What's some popular self-care/self-love advice that is actually really toxic?
Be who you are is only good advice if you're a good person.
A lot of people take this to mean that literally anything and everything about yourself is above criticism, and yeah, it's super effing toxic. It's basically don't improve yourself.
If people don't like you for you who are, that's their problem. No, sometimes you're the asshole. 9/10. The common denominator rule stands.
This goes along with be yourself, not if you're an asshole.
Positive vibes only. You just need to stay positive. People use it because they think it's uplifting, but it's actually quite dismissive. Often people say it when people voice sadness, frustration, emotional fatigue, anger, basically any other emotion but happiness. A positive attitude can get you a long way, but so can acknowledging and letting yourself/others feel emotions.
My husband said this to me at the height of the pandemic when I was coming home sobbing after 20-hour shifts as a COVID nurse. He asked me to move out because it was too much for him. He learned it from his life coach. Moving out and going through trauma therapy made me realize not only is that really bad advice, it is detrimental to your mental health. Already knew most of it, but now my husband is begging me to come home for his mental health.
The vast majority of life coaches I've encountered are total morons. I'm sorry your husband got duped by a confident idiot. I hope you're okay.
It's not really advice, but it's popular for people to label themselves as brutally honest. Honesty is good, but beware of people who are more interested in the brutality than the honesty.
My mother-in-law does this all the time. She will say something hateful to or about the people in her life, and then when someone calls her out on it, she claims I think people would appreciate honesty and acts like she's the victim and we're all attacking her. She told me how ugly and horrendous she thought my recently deceased grandmother hand-sewn wedding dress was, and when I told her that hurt my feelings, she blew up, claimed I was attacking her, and sent 32 back-to-back texts to my now husband about how I clearly didn't want her in our lives, so she wouldn't contact us ever again. Too bad she didn't stick to that promise.
Yeah, that's how these brutally honest types usually are. They, somewhat ironically, have extremely delicate egos and cannot take what they dish out.
Live your truth. There is a fine line between authenticity and being an asshole.
I've yet to meet a person who uses "I'm speaking my truth" who didn't clearly mean I don't care how incorrect or hurtful what I'm about to say is. If you don't accept it, you're disrespecting me.
Yep, it's more like, I only live in my truth, the rest of the world be damned if they don't align.
The how not to give a fuck nonsense. I agree, don't give a f of what people think if you enjoy a certain type of music, but do give a f about how your actions affect other people. Unfortunately, it seems that many people just take it to mean don't care that you might hurt other people. In order to self-care and self-love, it is important to consider what consequences your actions have on the world around you.
There is a whole industry built around what I call narcissism as self-help. It essentially boils down to everyone else is wrong. You're always right. The only problem you need to fix is that you care too much about what other people think. There is definitely something to be said for people who are far too self-conscious, but social interaction is a core concept for being a healthy, happy human. You aren't going to find happiness by turning into a sociopath.
The problem is that the type of advice that you give an anxiety-ridden introvert is not the same type of advice that a Kardashian needs to hear.
Stop texting people first to see who your friends are. What if they're doing the same thing and you just ended a friendship due to a misunderstanding?
Any form of testing your relationships like that is basically heading towards abuse territory. Imagine if a guy decided to stop responding to his girlfriend to see if she loves him enough. Yeah, no.
Do whatever feels right sometimes. What feels right is cutting your veins open, but that's not gonna heal you.
Follow your heart. Honestly, this statement almost never works. Sometimes love can be toxic and maybe the correct decision is painful. Maybe it pains you to leave someone. Your heart shouldn't rule you.
I often share this quote from High Fidelity with my students. I've been thinking with my guts since I was 14 years old, and frankly speaking, between you and me, I have come to the conclusion that my guts have crap for brains.
Guilt is a wasted emotion. Pretty sure it was Wayne Dyer who published this nonsense in the 80s. Having at least some guilt is a good sign that you're not a psychopath.
The way my duck phrased it makes total sense to me. Is this emotion useful? In the case of guilt, ask yourself if it's useful to you. Does it help you learn something, change a bad behavior, prevent you from hurting someone in the future? Then it's useful.
If you're feeling guilty over something and you analyze it and come to the realization that it's not useful, likely because you legitimately shouldn't feel guilty about it, then allow yourself to let go of the guilt. It works well with almost any negative emotion I may be struggling with.
Show them what they're missing. No, just do better for yourself.
I feel like spite is a great motivator for starting an activity strong, but it's not reliable over time.
Any kind of advice that tells you to test friendships by withholding contact to see if they'll notice, or straight up tells you to drop friends that don't reach out to you regularly. This is a very selfish and passive-aggressive thing to do. If you miss your friend, then call them up. Don't play cat and mouse games. Maybe they have crap going on in their lives. The world does not revolve around you.
I also similarly hate the I don't want to come, but I want to be invited mindset that's become really prevalent lately. I have a handful of friends who are like this, and I totally understand that sometimes you're having a bad mental heath or pain management day, but when I see you at every single event that X person hosts, but you never show up to things that I host, eventually I will assume you don't have interest in forging a one-on-one friendship with me personally, and will stop inviting you. Why is it on me to constantly deal with rejection?
I'm one of those. My personal rule is never decline 2 in a row. If I didn't make it last time, I will bust my butt to be there this time. Relationships take work from both sides.
The sort of positivity that relies on dragging other people down. I see it the most around body image issues in particular, but can apply to other things too, and I just think it's really sad. It doesn't solve any of the underlying issues, just makes more people feel rubbish about themselves.
I really had that. Bones are for dogs. Real women have curves quote being thrown around. Great work against body shaming you're doing there, buddy. /X.
Find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. First of all, even a job you love is going to suck. Often. That's why they pay you to do it. This advice leaves you feeling like a failure whenever you have a bad day at work. Plus, there's a lot of value in working for a living and finding your satisfaction at a more personal level.
I worked 2 retail jobs in my life. One of them in an industry I loved, video games. The other in one I had little interest in, beauty products. When I worked selling video games, I eventually stopped playing video games because playing them felt like work. When I worked selling beauty items, my time off of work was all for me because I didn't get enjoyment from reading about skincare treatments or from giving myself a full face of makeup. It was great. My hobbies got to be fun again.
Cut off anyone that doesn't bring you peace. Obviously, this applies to people who are constantly, deliberately making you miserable. But a stressful situation or argument with a friend that you care about doesn't count if you haven't attempted to work it out with them.
That you should expect unconditional support, love, and acceptance from friends or romantic partners. Popular idea, but if people really care, they will tell you when you are harming yourself or others rather than just keep the vibe chill.
Unconditional support does not mean they go along with whatever you want. It means they care about you and support you, even when you make bad decisions. And sometimes supporting you means telling you how it is.
Agreed. It shouldn't be a peacekeeping thing, but rather stemming from a mindset that you are deserving of love and support by default. EGA. It doesn't need to be earned or maintained as something you deserve through accomplishments. When someone feels like they have to earn love and support, they will have great anxiety about ensuring their accomplishments / contributions / attributions / etc. stay worthy of it, which can be an arbitrary and ever-shifting goalpost of what qualifies as worthy. I would say this also is connected to physical needs like food, water, and shelter. People who live in a society where they see the unhoused being abused and abandoned, cast aside as unworthy, that is going to impact them no matter how supportive their loved ones are.
Why are you sad? You have everything to be happy. Even if there's few happy things in your life, you don't need to be ashamed to feel sad or depressed.
One of the most toxic mindsets is you can't have insert mental illness here because you're in a good situation. In case you needed to be reminded, Sharon, mental illness doesn't discriminate. It doesn't exclusively affect minorities and oppressed groups.
The whole blood is thicker than water advice, where you should feel obligated to be loyal to your family no matter what. If they are toxic or abusive, then there is no reason for you to keep that around in your life, especially if it is detrimental to your own well-being / mental health.
Your relatives will always be your relatives, but that doesn't mean you need to have anything to do with them.
Blood relation doesn't mean family. They can overlap, but in my book they are two different things.